Hang on. Let's reframe that, brother. The green pill is superior to the incel pill.
Why is the green pill superior?
Could I get a definition of these pills?
Incel pill is being an
like the
autistic.
purple pill.
Incel pill is autistic schizo, not seeing any women just because women are gay, and then
Are they like the
focusing on you want to work.
shooters, or?
Well, that besides the school shooter part. So if you focus all that energy, all the nut energy into your work.
Or MGTOW, men going their own way. That's another way to put it.
Peaceful incels.
That's another way to put it.
Yes. Well, incel is a bad word, so I would say volcel, but incel's cooler.
What's a volcel?
Voluntary celibate? Because incel means you can't get girls at all.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
Yeah. What's the green pill?
So I don't think it's healthy to completely be celibate. God has made us in a way that we are meant to partner with a woman. That is natural. So my thinking is, if you're today, in your 20s, full of hormones, you've got a bit of money in your pocket, how are you going to resist temptation? Tinder is endless hedonism. And even for those who can't access, women in the real world, porn is endless. How are you going to choose to reject all of that when it's just so abundant? And again, you're full of hormones. If you don't have some sort of values, some sort of guidance, some sort of structure with which to live your life, Islam, the green pill, brings that. And we talk about green pill. For me, it can be any person who is practicing a faith in an earnest manner. They're going to be holding themselves to account. They're going to make disciplined decisions daily. They're going to be able to resist the temptation, which is everywhere, and is pushed by Western culture to make men, out of shape, weak, addicted to pornography, addicted to dopamine. How are you going to offset all of that programming without religion in your life? I don't see it. I don't know many young men who can do it.
So green pill is engaging in some type of religion or some type of, guidance.
Predominantly Islam, because Islam is the religion with the most structure.
Engaging in some of that fun stuff with the healthy doses, or
no, it is living by the structures with which you have clear guidance as to what's right and what's wrong in life, and you have a discipline. You have brothers around you with the same discipline to avoid the hedonism, because the thinking
but it does allow for some fun, right? Because I believe in the Muslim or in Islam you can have multiple wives, correct?
I wouldn't call that for fun though, and there's a lot that comes with it. It's look, if you're
fun with headaches.
If you're at the level as a man where you can not just financially but also emotionally in terms of your leadership look after multiple families, and you can do that in a halal equal manner, then within Islam you can do that. Yes,
sounds good to me.
I mean, look, if we want to talk, you said earlier, is it
right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Take your shahada right now.
Shahada?
Yeah.
What's that?
We'll tell you, actually. It's one sentence. Let me tell you. No, you should probably do some research first. It's a one-way trip. You can't come back.
To convert to Islam.
But the question you guys were asking, is it worth is the risk versus the return of dating in today's day and age? Certainly not in the West. The risks are not worth. I mean, look, in some countries like this where it's not as risky in terms of false allegations and legal system just coming out. Yeah, okay, you could argue. But in the West, is the risk versus the return of spinning plates and dating a lot of women? Of course it's not.
So what do you should recommend? Say you're a baller guy, you're good looking, you're young, that typical high value man in the West. Your advice is just leave, or what?
My advice is have a look at what happened to the Tates. These are good men. Everyone around them knows they're good men.
They technically weren't even in the West.
The people making the claims are laughable in terms of their credibility, but look where they are. Right. As soon as you got some money, as soon as you got some public notoriety, especially if you speak against the narrative, man, there is a mark on your head, and any woman you let into your life can fulfill that contract.
What if you're not an influencer? You're not speaking out against.
I'd be extremely careful of who you let into your life. I would not do high numbers, and I'd be extremely careful.
They get jealous. It doesn't even matter if you're an influencer. Yeah. People will get jealous naturally. People who work regular jobs, stuff like that, they'll see a free man living a life that they want to live, and they're gonna the jealousy is gonna manifest into something of them trying to take you down. And I think the people that are advocating towards spinning plates and saying that the Dan Bilzerian lifestyle is the way to go, a lot of them are in marriages for decades and decades. So why are they advocating for you to get a vasectomy and then sleep with a bunch of women that you don't even like? For what? Who are you trying to impress? What is the point of doing this? It's ultimately pretty empty. And everybody who's pushing that type of lifestyle, you got to look at how they're living and then see if they're if they are even in a position to role model. If they're not, then I don't think you should listen to them.
But also, after I got divorced 5 years ago, I did the spinning plates pretty heavily. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I know.
It's work. Whereas if you have a loving, supportive wife who cares for you energetically, who helps you with your admin, who helps you with raising kids, who helps you heal if you're sick, that's a lot more meaningful and fulfilling than just spinning plates and having random women. Having real relationships with a wife who takes care of you is a much better way to do it. But I think those people who are speaking about spinning plates, the reason they recommend spinning plates is because they do not have a good marriage and they do not have a feminine woman taking care of them. Otherwise, why would they recommend spinning plates? All these people giving this, textbook, I've written a book so I know what to speak about. Shout out to Rollo Tomassi. The book saved a lot of lives, I get that. Yeah. But how is he going to talk about dating when he doesn't date? How is he going to say, do spinning plates when Well, what receipts do you have, friend? If you're married for 27 years and you're saying spinning plates is the way to do it, clearly you haven't got a very good marriage. Again, we wouldn't go to a fat personal trainer for advice. We wouldn't go and get diet advice from a very clearly unhealthy doctor. When we take advice from people, what are their receipts? What's the credibility with which they're giving their advice? That's what I don't like about the internet age. Everyone's an expert on everything because they decided they are. It's pretty embarrassing, really.
Yeah, I mean, I see your perspective. I think the importance of spinning plates is just being able to identify which girls are good, which girls aren't, and then being able to be like, okay, I like this, I dislike this. And I think it gives a lot of guys practice because I think the issue is in the West, at least, maybe in other places it's not as bad, but the stakes are high because if you get in with the wrong girl, you marry that
100%.
girl, God forbid, she take half your money.
I wouldn't get married in the West
children.
either.
Yeah. So it's like,
on that.
I look at it like, if you're going to be in the West, you're going to pursue relationships with Western women, you need to be able to figure out which girls are worth it, which girls aren't, and then be able to be a good assessor of character. But the thing is that, because the things that used to be in place to save men before, religion, shame, all these things are kind of gone. And girls are just like, they're incentivized to be whores.
You have to have some shit girls, some experience with some shit girls to recognize what a shit girl is in the first place.
Yeah, I hear that. But as per that book, it says that the best way for a man to interact with a woman is spinning plates. That is the end state
I
that's
would agree
presented.
with that for a period of time. I agree.
But that's not an end state, man. It's empty, exhausting.
Well, as an end state.
Yeah, it's empty, exhausting.
Yeah, okay.
He's saying that the best way to experience the feminine is through spinning plates for a man today.
But what does that mean, an end state? Like that's your.
As in, that's the goal. That's what you should be doing. That's the best way to approach it. That's the best way to approach it.
No, I don't agree with that. No, but I do agree that that's like how you earn your stripes as a man. You have to.
Really? You think in today's day and age, I'm going to challenge you respectfully.
Sure.
You think earning stripes, proving you're a man, is getting on Tinder and banging a bunch of
No, I
chicks?
didn't say that. I didn't say that makes you a man. That makes you an alpha. That makes you a cool
No,
guy.
you said earning stripes. What achievement is there?
Maybe I misspoke with earning stripes. It's not an achievement. No.
Okay.
It is.
We're aligned.
How do you know what a shit girl is? How do you know to recognize signs of what's? If I ask, someone who's 18, 19, 20, what are the red flags and signs of a girl that you do not want a long-term relationship? We can sit here and name them. Public Instagram, a lot of photos showing a lot of skin, a lot of followers.
Speaking English.
Speaking English. We know what those red flags are.
Yeah, but
the
do you
average
need
18, 19, and 20-year-old doesn't know what these red flags are.
Do you need to put your dick in a bunch of women to find that out?
I think you do, yeah, for a period of time.
Really?
Again,
They could have just listened to what you said just then.
You have to experience it. You can't just if I tell you.
And a lot of guys are stubborn. They have to learn through getting burned on the stove.
Can you watch a YouTube video how to shoot a gun? You have to shoot a gun to know how to shoot a gun. Real experience in the field cannot be just like, oh, this random white guy on the Fresh and Fit thing said, don't date girls with public Instagram. Like,
it's tricky though, just because I see so many people getting into the spinning plates and they spend so much time there. They've learned what they need to learn, but they still do it. So is it really a learning experience?
To get in and get out because again, like maybe I don't know, maybe like there's some military or I'll put it this way, right? Maybe, and I'm just going to make a weird analogy. Let's not dissect it too much. But maybe if you were going to be on your fitness journey, you stop going out, you kind of cut off your friends. You're just in the gym all the time because you're just so fucking fat. You're 300 pounds and you kind of got to let work suffer a little bit, social life suffer a little bit. Then when you get down to even a respectable, 215, 200, maybe you're tall, so you're not even that fat that way. Then, okay, your life gets back in balance. You have a social life again. You stop neglecting work and you a little bit less time at the gym. So I think it's okay in life to get very out of balance in one area, learn some skill, go in deep in it, and then pull back and get balance. Get that experience, learn what to avoid in girls, and then. But yeah, I certainly agree. I would not want to be doing. I would not recommend that for like.
I think if you're in the West, where the stakes are so high, if you fail and pick the wrong girl, I think you got to get out there and experience which girls are good, which ones are bad, and be able to be a good assessor of character. Because so many guys are simps. They'll get with the first girl that touches their pee-pee, give her a relationship, then eventually give her a ring, and then that girl destroys them because that girl has way more sexual experience. This is something that was really scared of me. So we're on the Valuetainment show like a month and a half ago or whatever, right? We did the live show. And I asked the girls, I went around the panel. And then one thing, this is why I start to phrase the question. I say, what do you think the average body count is of the average 25-year-old girl that maybe went to college? It was shocking, the answers that I got.
30, 40?
Some girls said 20, some girls said 30, some girls said 80, some girls said 50.
Whoa.
The answers were all over the place. But if I'm going to go ahead, it was like 20 plus girls. So what I'll say is this. The average, I'll say, is somewhere between 20 to 30. So
sorry, what?
Yeah, 20, 30. Yeah, dude. And that's the women that said that.
At age 24.
At 25.
Hang on, if they're admitting to that, then it's 70, bro.
Yeah,
You got
That's
times
the
about
scary
3.
part. That's the scary part. So they're saying that they think the average girl has somewhere between 20 to 30, and that's me just averaging all the answers. So my thing is, if you take the average guy that's 25 years old, he ain't gonna have 20 to 30 bodies. He's probably gonna have maybe 2 or 3. So my thing is, I'll look at it like, if your girl's more sexually experienced than you, you put yourself in a bad spot. But a lot of guys will go ahead and commit to the first girl that kisses them, and it's like, damn, this is dangerous.
Can I say something here?
At least in America.
Okay, what if that entire framework with which to approach relationships, the Western approach, is completely broken, in which men and women suffer, and it is Western, liberal, degenerate, hedonistic waste of time? What if there's a superior way to approach relationships, and that is the green pill, that is through an Islamic halal relationship in which the man has certain duties, the woman has certain duties. Both parties understand that their sex intimacy is a sacred thing. It shouldn't be spread all over the world. What if the entire framework of the Western world in terms of relationship is completely polluted and broken? You can reject that. I know men who have, and you can choose a halal approach to relationships through taking the green pill. You can have relationships in the Islamic context, which are a lot healthier, both physically, energetically, mentally, in every sense.
I think you're right in practice, but I've seen a lot of young Muslim guys get married and then immediately they start simping for their wife, even in the marriage. Even though it's in a halal way, they get indoctrinated by their phones. And so if you get married too young without becoming established, I think that you're going to be able to get caught into that simping nature.
And that is a risk. And I don't really have the answer for that, because I see a lot of Muslim men.
Incel them. Be an incel until you're 35. Ignore women, ignore the distractions. If you have to once in a while, you can whatever. But just ignore relationships until you become extremely established, until you know exactly what you deserve and what you should demand for it. Ignore women until you get to that point where you're not. Because if you get married ultra young when you're like 22, 23, naturally you're going to want to give everything to this girl because you haven't been able to experience life yet.
And also the value's out of whack. She's young and beautiful. You're a man who hasn't made it yet. Whereas and this is what I've noticed, people who get married real young, their imprint stays the same. She can get, in 10 years' time, fat and grumpy, and you can be a multi-millionaire. She will still think she's the prize because the imprint when you got married earlier was she was the prize. So it is a tricky one.
She'd hold on to that frame.
And I do feel empathy for the young Muslim men especially who are strong in their deen and are staying a virgin until they're married and they get married early, but the woman they're marrying has still been infected by Western degeneracy.
That's
and
the worst.
They've still been infected by all this simp culture that we see in the West. It's a very challenging thing. I think any relationships in the West, or pretty much anywhere in the world, it's a confused time for relationships between men and women. That's why Tate's gotten so popular. He speaks directly to the fact that most relationships are a mess, that it's all been messed up.
And I do agree with you that the entire way that men and women interact with each other in the West is dysfunctional. I agree 100% with you, actually.
What's the solution in your view, brother?
Well, so I think there's two ways to go about it. I think the green pill is a very valid way to deal with it, where you go through it with the Islamic lens, which I think obviously Islam solves a lot of problems. Yeah, of course. It definitely does.
Should've came to the masjid with us today, man.
Hey, man, I was handling things behind the scenes with the gym in here.
It was working. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, and I will definitely, I know some of you guys are probably wondering about this. Yeah, I grew up in a Muslim family. A lot of you guys know this. I will definitely go back to the deen, but when I come back, it's going to be 100% on point. I don't want to do it for, I want to just do this because it's like, it's cool. It's like, no, I want to do this. Like, I want to make sure if I come back to the deen, I'm doing it for real. But what I will say, though, is, the Islamic way to go about it is absolutely, optimal. But the thing is, I'm looking at it when I'm going to dispense advice to the majority of guys out there. What I say is like, okay, is everyone going to go ahead and convert to Islam? No. Is everyone going to go ahead and take the Islamic lens to it? Probably not. So what I say is, okay, since most of you guys are not going to do that, this is some advice to kind of deal with the shitty situation, right? Like, it sucks. This is what it is. This is a dating marketplace. It's a cesspool, but this is how you navigate it in the best way to mitigate risk. There's always going to be the risk. You are definitely going to come out of this dirty to some degree. You're going to have some mud on you.
The more numbers, the more risk. People need to understand that.
You're going to have mud on you at the end of this, but my goal is to get you in a situation where you have mud on you, but you're in a leveraged position in a relationship. The girl respects you. She admires you. You're the one that she's chasing, and you're going to have to go through the mud to do it, but this is the best way to do it in the West. Or, the passport bro movement is huge. A lot of guys are leaving altogether and going to other places where the women are just more traditionally feminine and the women behave more like women, which is a valid response. I'm not necessarily a passport bro, but I see that why the need is there and why it's exploded over the past 5 to 10 years. It used to be like a little nuanced thing. Roosh used to write the books, hey, bang Colombia, bang Ukraine, bang blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like a sub-culture thing, but it's out there now. Like the whole passport movement, it's out there, it's here, it's alive, and guys are coming. Medellin is going through gentrification right now. The Philippines, Thailand, so many guys. Ukraine before it became a war torn. There's still a bunch of guys there anyway. So it's a thing, and I think a lot of guys are waking up and realizing, okay, I got 3 options. I can either go with religion, whether it's through Islam or Christianity, and find a woman and go use that lens, or I can adapt to the dating marketplace in the West and use these red pill tactics or whatever you want to say to deal with it and kind of deal in the cesspool. Or 3, I can move somewhere where the women have different values. And it's going to be easier for me to find a girl that's going to be on my program. And that's the 3 ways that I've seen guys kind of adapt. But I think it's fucked regardless. But yeah, the Western way of relationships, I agree. It's
messed
fucked.
up. And especially, but if you get married,
Yeah,
if you get
I
in a
agree.
relationship